Hi everybody, hope you're all doing okay. It's Sunday the 10th of May now, 2020. The tank's been in the house now for about 5 days. We had a few initial teething problems with the actual cabinet itself, all sorted now, thanks to Red Sea, so I'll just chat about that a little bit more later. I'm sure you've already seen in my previous videos. The tank is obviously full, as you can see, of water. So my process was, I filled it with RO, just to do a leak check, and once I knew it was all okay, I then turned the power heads on and I started to fill it with my Red Sea Coral Pro salt. I've got the salinity up to 35 parts per thousand, so that's exactly where I want to run it for my what's mainly going to be a mixed reef, but there's going to be some SPS in there, so I wanted to get the trace elements up. You can see the sand is now obviously in the bottom of the tank, so I put the sand in yesterday. I got a bag of about 10 kilograms worth of sand, and I only used about 7-8 kilograms. I just didn't feel like I needed any more than what I already had. You can see it's already quite a decent level as it is, so I didn't want to just put too much in there. I've got the skimmer working now, skimmer's on, and it seems to be bedding in quite well. It's not as loud as I'd seen in some of the other reviews, well, not particularly this tank, but the Red Sea Nano tank. Seems to be okay, as I say. So the tank's up and running, it's running well. I think it's starting to slowly get a bit of a bloom on the sides of the tank, on the glass, so it looks like possibly it's starting to cycle. I've not even put the Reef Mature kit in yet. I'm going to have a look at that this evening and maybe try and start dosing that tomorrow and see if we can get it sorted within the next 3 weeks, ready for, as I said the other day, ready for payday, and then we should be able to get some fish and maybe a little coral in there at that point, just maybe something LPS, maybe a softie, I don't know yet, but we'll wait and see. So today's video is an introduction, or it's a review of the tank. So it's a Red Sea Max e170, and the E170, I was torn between the E170, which is a plug and play tank, versus the 170 litre reef, which came with a sump down in the cabinet. So I wasn't really sure which to go for. I plumped with this. I'm happy I plumped with it because I can go and get a sump at a later date if I want to. But I will tell you few bits that I do like about the tank, a couple of bits that I don't like about the tank. One of the things that I think is really great, I've had a rear sump before, and it was the easiest tank I found to look after because obviously the sumps are great. You can run your Cheeto in there, you can run your phosphate reactor, that sort of thing, but I don't know whether I'm going to need it in this tank. I've got some Rower Phos, I've got some other bits and pieces, and I'll show you everything that I think is great about the tank. There's a few bits, as I say, that I'm not overly keen on, and if I'd known about them, or if I'd looked at it properly, because granted I didn't really, there was a couple of bits I missed, I probably may have plumped for the other tank. But having said that, I can still add a sump at a later date, and I'll show you that in a moment. So let's get on with the review then. So I'll take the camera off the tripod now, and we'll just have a quick look around the tank. Okay. So as you can see, the tank's really cleared up quite well. It took about 24 hours to clear properly, but you can see the rock work. I think the rock scape's really nice. I've tried to get a little bit of a gap towards the back so that there's plenty of hiding spaces for the fish once they get in there. There's plenty of places to put my corals as I'm getting some frags. But the main reason why I tried to plump for this gap at the back really was because I wanted to try and get some flow going through, so there was no real dead spots. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. I might have to rescape at some point. So the tank itself, you can see it's an E170. It's a nice size. It's 60 centimeters wide by 57.5 deep, I think it is. You can see I've got the Red Sea DIY tank cover on the top, so I will run through that with you at a later date, just do a little bit of a review on that. It was an absolute nightmare is all I'll say. So the tank itself, so let's just have a look in the cabinet. So at the minute there's not an awful lot in the cabinet. It's nice and spacious though. It's got cutouts at the back for your cables to run off to the the various areas within the rear sump. I need to obviously do some tidying up, but I'm not overly fussed about that for now. Did find a little piece of real reef rock just in the box before when I was cleaning that out, so I just thought I'd keep that in case I can plug a frag onto it at some point in future. Now, the only thing that I would say is this was one of the main selling points for me for the tank. So you take this off and you've got 7, so there's 6 plugs, and then the 7th one there is the Reef LED 90 light plug. I thought it was great, this, because they're individually switched, it's all waterproof, it just looks fantastic, and that was the real selling point for me. Now, this is the bit where I didn't do the research properly. I didn't notice when I was buying it that actually they're built for the European market. So you can see the plugs just look like your standard shaver or your toothbrush. It's just ridiculous that they've got such a big market in the UK, Red Sea, and they don't provide 3-pin plugs. Do something about that, Red Sea. I mean, the tank was 1,150 quid, and I've now had to buy a separate 4-way trailing socket which is individually switched, so it's still great, but I've got to run them separately just because I now can't get them in there, and I've got 4 outlets that are just empty, redundant. So I mean, I could either try and fit a 2-pin plug on there, or I could get some travel adapters and put them in there, but it'll mean that I can't use this cover. So I mean, I'm not overly bothered about the cover. I can live without that, but it's just an extra layer of protection if there was a leak that ended up getting into the cabinet. So I could do that, or I mean, if I cut the plugs off and try and fit a 2-pin plug on it, obviously I'll invalidate the warranty on everything, so I don't really want to do that if I can help it. You can see in here I've got my Tunzi Turbel Nano Stream pump in there. I've got the dual controller for my heating. I've not got a cooling outlet at the minute, so just the temperature, the thermometer in the back. You can see obviously there's the electric unit, but I've not managed to stick that down yet. But there's loads of space. In the bottom here I'm going to put a little reservoir for my RO water, which I'm going to try and bring in later on today. I've got the RO pump and all that, the auto top-up pump in there. And then that's really it for the bottom cabinet. Now, actually, there's one extra bit. So this was the feature that I thought was really great. So if you just look up there, you can see there's 3 extra outlets there. Now they're all blocked off, but they're for the sump. If you decide to put a sump in at a later date, there isn't an upgrade kit for the sump. So hopefully I might get that at some point in time once the tank's fully bedded in, and if we do need to run some Cheeto and phosphate remover, that sort of stuff. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is this drops down. So it's a glass panel, clips in place, and it drops down for when you are doing your maintenance on the rear sump. So you can see I've got the protein skimmer in here. It's working well. It's not quite bedded in yet. It's not pulling anything out as of yet, but it's slowly starting to work. It just needs another week or so probably before it's working properly. You've got this chamber at the back, which is at the minute only used for my ATO, which I've not plumbed in properly, or the I've also got the thermometer in there, or the heater in there, sorry. And then if we just move around this side of the tank, you can see we've got a media rack there, which is great. I think that's really, really good. I've got my Reef Spec Carbon running in there at the moment. And then we've got the return pump down here, and then obviously my ATO outlet there from the tub when that's running properly later on. So you can see there's plenty of really good features on this. I think if it's your first tank and it's your first foray into marines, I don't think this is a bad shout. I think the problem you've got is that, as you all know, if you're going to buy a tank, you've got to really be committed to it. Now, the commitment comes from the fact that you've got an £1,150 tank that you're going to buy straight away. It's one of those. You can get tanks that are a lot cheaper on the market. I mean, your best bet, if you're not sure about the hobby, might be to maybe go for something like a second-hand one. There's loads of forum websites. Ultimate Reef's the one I generally go on. There's always people selling stuff on there to get yourself up and running. You do tend to save an awful lot of money on a second-hand tank than you do with a brand new tank, but there's just something for me about a brand new tank. But yeah, I think for 1,150 quid, it's a lot of money, but I think it's a great tank for that money. I think I mentioned on one of my previous videos, I used to have an e170, which was obviously it was twice as wide as that. It's a 1200mm tank instead of a 600mm tank. But for me, this is just going to be so much easier to maintain. It's not as expensive to fill with your rock to start with, your corals, your fish, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm not planning it at the moment, obviously, but there might be an upgrade at some point in future. But we'll just wait and see. So I think it's a great tank. I think you can't go wrong with it really if it's your first tank, or if it's your third, fourth tank, whatever it is. So I think it's something that you should possibly consider investing in if you are looking at a new tank. Now, I would just say with Red Sea, I think their customer service has been absolutely fantastic. I spoke to them on Wednesday, in fact it was Tuesday when I picked the tank up. I was obviously a bit annoyed because I've been looking forward to getting this tank in the house, brought all the bits and pieces in, and then looked at the front door, and the door on the cabinet was damaged on this corner here, so there was absolutely nothing that I could do. I couldn't just leave it. The Complete Aquatics who I bought the tank from, they offered me a little bit of money back on the tank if I just wanted to keep that door, but it was just damaged beyond use really. So Red Sea, I contacted them, and then straight away they came back to me and said, shows you proof of purchase. So I did do, and within 2 days I had the new tank door, which I thought was really good service. So thank you again, Red Sea. And that's really it for today's video. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative, and if you are looking at this tank and you're not quite sure yet, put some, if you've got any questions, pop them in the comment section down below, and I'll try and help you where I can. I'm sure there's plenty of other people who've got this tank that will be able to help if I can't. But thanks for watching. If you like this video, there's going to be another update tomorrow hopefully, and please like and subscribe to my channel, and we will see you soon. Thanks.